Sabbath. Loving God, we thank you for this Sabbath morning. We pray your presence with us as we meet as a group, wherever we are. May your spirit be ever present. May we uplift each other through the words that we speak, the thoughts that we have. Bring them together, O Lord, that we may represent you in the best way possible. Forgive us our sins, and we ask and pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Right. I pray that you've all had a very good week. And I'd just like to share with you in a moment on happenings during this past week. For those of you who know Ivan and Sharon Jackson back in Zimbabwe, I'd like to acknowledge them today as founding members of the movement in Zimbabwe in the early days of Elder Jeff and Pastor Sankey and company. This week we learned of the passing of Ivan and Sharon's firstborn son, Liam, who sadly took his own life at such a young age of 18. So it's with this in mind and other events of the past week that kind of once again brought me back full circle to that question I asked the last time I spoke on this platform. And that question was, why are we here? And for what purpose? You see, the thoughts that I had that time come back ringing fast when I think of this young lad. The messages he left. And for him, it must have been real painful because I understand his best friend had taken his life like a month earlier. These were all young men and all asking questions of their very existence. So today, I will partly try and give an answer to the purpose part of that question. For what purpose were we brought here? Do any of you who are present in this meeting today believe that human beings were created to bring glory to God through the things that we create? Who can say that they have creative skills such as artistry, sculpture, entrepreneurship, builder, designer, etc., etc.? I know all of us think we're just in this world doing mundane jobs. You go in, sit down, turn on your computer, start typing, answering emails, doing your work, and you finish off 5 o'clock, 4:30, and go home, do the same thing, wash up, have something to eat, go on your cell phone, scroll a bit or watch television, then go to bed and repeat the same thing the next day, exactly the same thing. And this goes on the whole year. And the years, the the year turns into years, is that creativity. Who really enjoys their work? This is a question to the audience out there today. Who can say they really enjoy what they do? I'm looking for answers. Don't be quiet.
Brian, it's Emma here. I love my job, but I would have to say that obviously I have for years wasn't in the workplace and was homeschooling, and that wasn't always a joy. That was a challenge. It had its joyful moments. Like everything has its joyful moments, has its ups and downs. And I guess I've only just been working for, I guess, over a year now in this job. But I can safely say I really love it. And now I'm on holiday. This is school holidays. I'm almost missing it. I like the routine. I love the fact that I can go in and speak to people. I get paid for hearing their stories, which I love. I love talking, as most people that know me know. I like listening as well. But I just love that working with people and seeing a difference and helping them. So for me, it's a really fulfilling, joyful job. And it's not to say that sometimes it isn't mundane, or sometimes it drags more because they don't want to talk, or they want to play games or do something that's not so interesting for me. But I drive home feeling like thankful that I've got this opportunity, I think. And maybe it's because it's new as well. I've only been doing it a year. But I think it's that whole people contact. I love it. And it's finding something positive in everything. Even just little people, if you're in a mundane, boring, which I have done in the past, so I do understand. I think it's finding the joy in each moment and trying to bring that joy to other people, which is the reward, trying to cheer someone else up.
So you are working in some creative field then?
I guess counseling, yeah. So yeah, and it's very varied because you meet different people, different ages, different online, in the flesh. There's quite a lot of variety. Some teaching I've had recently, so that's different opportunities, which is really, I like the change, the variety of it.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, one day, if we're still here, one of those little ones you will see somewhere in society representing some of the thoughts that you imparted. And that's the reward, I guess.
Yeah, I think the reward is always helping someone else. And I watched a podcast the other day which said the same thing, that when someone was really down, they found that in actually giving to someone else, they were at a similar role. They were counseling someone, helping them. They were a coach and they were counseling someone else. And they did it for weeks, but it seemed like the person was better for 2 days, then the rest of the week they were rubbish. And they realized after a while, wait a minute, let me switch this. They were friends, so it wasn't in a professional capacity. So they said, okay, you know what, I need some help this week. Can you help me? And the person said, right, let's do half the session with you. And the whole session ended up being about the therapist, being about the person who was coaching. And the next week it happened again. And then after that, the person was really happy for weeks. So it's like, because they'd been able to give to the other person and help them, it actually helped them get out of their rut. And I think that's the importance of the collective, of society. We help each other. And in helping others, we help ourselves. Ellen White says something similar, actually. She says we become overcomers by helping others to overcome. And that principle, I think, is very valid. Yeah.
Excellent. You've almost overtaken everything I was going to say, but yeah, lovely. I saw something by Natalie there. You used to enjoy being, what was that? You there, Natalie? Okay, she must have stepped away for a minute. I'll continue. So,
Brian, it says, I used to love being a naturopath, never worked a day in my life doing that pure joy. But aren't we here for furthering God's great controversy or institution?
I would have loved to hear a simple explanation. I don't know what that.
I'm here.
Yeah. Can you just explain? Hi, Natalie.
Yeah, I think I found my purpose in life, and it was to do naturopathy, which is natural medicine. Then I found the church, and it all linked. And what I was saying was, when you find your joy, you feel like you're not working at all. You feel like you're not working it. So it's finding that creative joy that is for you. That I think it's different for everybody. And that was my joy, but it didn't pay the bills. So yeah, but I understand now the spiritual reason, even though I felt that was a spiritual calling too. I think the spiritual reason is to further God's kingdom on earth. Thanks. Good subject.
Amen. Right. I love that. So every act of creativity reflects something of the creator. The ability to imagine, design, solve problems, and bring something new into existence is, for me, a gift from God. Whatever line of work you're in requires some form of creativity. Therefore, are we not co creators with God? I believe so. And
Hi, Brian.
yes,
Curtis had his hand up.
yeah, you're going to have to tell me. I don't see hands obviously coming up.
Okay.
Carry on, Kurt.
I was going to offer, well, speak on my perspective, which is my work. And for ages, I've struggled to find what I'm passionate about. And I've always been told, work in the thing that you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But I've never found that. And where I ended up was finding something I kind of enjoyed, but I looked for something that would, to say it crudely, make me money, so that
Yeah.
I could do things that I do enjoy. And so I've ended up in that job, and I wouldn't say I love it. For most of the time, I don't like it, because it's stressful. It's yeah, and so just what Natalie just said and Emma just said, I don't feel that I've found that.
Yeah.
And the cycle that you've described of, yeah, living through that, if I can call it rut, I find myself in, where I end up just using my work to pursue other things that I do enjoy, which is traveling, meeting people, socializing with people, etc. But the way things currently exist is that if I were to pursue that stuff, I wouldn't live as much as I would want to. So yeah, it's just a catch-22 that
Yeah.
I find myself in.
Yeah. I saw something by Richard there says to have creativity, you need money. That's partly true, not always true. I agree. And Curtis just gave his own perspective, which is different from what Emma and Natalie had. And I want to go with Curtis because of the line of work I do. I work in a quarry site, weighbridge operator. I weigh the trucks that come in and dispatch them. And sometimes I jump on, or at least once a day, on a loading shovel and load material onto a truck and come back and do the ticketing of the trucks and stuff like that. And it's daily, exactly the same routine. And I think, wow, is this what I'm here on this earth for? Because I wake up 20 past 4 in the morning, get in my car by 25 to 5, get to work by 5:30, and immediately start work until 4:30, come home. Takes me about an hour, sometimes an hour and a half to get home because of traffic. Come home, wash, change, have something to eat. And by 9 o'clock, I've got to be in bed. Otherwise, I will be dead tired the next day. And this carries on. It's been going on. I've been there about 5 years now. And I'm thinking to myself, really? Is this why I came onto this earth? But lately, I've been thinking about it and said, look, okay, what am I doing at work? How is this helping not just me? It's helping me in that I get a salary from it. And that's basically it. But I'm helping towards the greater cause of humanity. One of the biggest contracts this country has at the moment is the HS2 railway track, and we provide the materials for that. So the bulk of our work is at HS2. So the nature of our job is we have our mines where the material is mined, and it comes to us from the quarry sites in Wales and England, and that comes in by train. We put it on trucks and dispatch it to the HS2 sites wherever they are. And that material is used to lay foundations for the track and everything else that goes on there. So there is some creativity going on there. Something is being done and I play my small little part. We always laugh. I always laugh with that sitting on our armchair and saying to our grandchild, you know the HS2 line? I was there. We built that. So, yeah, if you look a little deeper into that boring job that you're in, Rose, you drive an ambulance. Wow. That in itself just gives you so much scope as to our lives, the places you go, the people you see, the type of help that is provided during and even in the hospitals and the aftercare. That is work that is contributing to the betterment of society. Sometimes we tend to think that what we do is just boring and mundane. Well, I've always thought that. I don't know how to answer Curtis's one. I don't know the inner depths of what he does, but obviously, at the end of the day, it's going to bring something to the development of humankind. All of us are contributing to the development of humankind, I believe. So, the concept that humans are co-creators.
Brian,
Yes.
just on that point, there was a documentary movie called something Days. Was it like my point is, let me just see. Hold on a sec. Perfect Days, and it was about a man in Tokyo who cleaned toilets every day for year after year. And a documentary was done about him because he was so content, so happy and joyous in structure and daily routine that was always the same. And he found the joy in the small things in life. And the documentary was done, I think, because they couldn't understand his joy cleaning toilets in Tokyo in a busy city. But he liked to meet people and he loved the structure and getting on his bike and going to work. So you don't have to create big things and big institutions and so forth. You can find the joy in those little mundane things. And like you said, your work can be meaningful and make a difference in society, in your community.
Absolutely. So I want to dig a little deeper into this concept that humans are co-creators with God. The concept itself transforms our understanding of human existence from just a passive survival to active divine partnership. It suggests that creation was not finished in the event in the past, but an ongoing process that God started and left open for humanity to continue. I think that's profound. That God just didn't create and say, okay, it's done. I've done everything, and everybody that I've created, all the animals, the plants, humans, the fish, the birds. You go on and occupy and enjoy yourself. I'm done. But what I'm saying here is that God said, I've given you the basis. Go ahead and continue from where I've left off. So the foundation, there's something I saw Manjit right up there. Or Richard.
It's Richard that he
Yeah.
wrote that Manjit would often give a testimony about a content road sweeper in his road sweeper truck.
Yeah, exactly. All right. The foundation of co-creation. Being made in the image and likeness of a creator means our core nature is to create. There we are. We're starting to answer my own question on our purpose. The unfinished canvas. God created the raw materials, the laws of physics, the earth and consciousness, but left the development of culture, art, technology, and community to us. The gift of free will. True co-creation requires freedom. God steps back to give the humans autonomy to choose how to shape reality through thought and imagination. Every invention, building, and social system existed as an invisible thought before it became a physical reality. My wife and I always discuss this, that how come there are so many, not educated, but creative people in this world, and so many of us are not creative? What have we done in society that has really made a mark? And one day I answered that just from the top of my head. I said, you know what? We've done something, you and I. We've built 2 houses, three houses in our lifetimes from scratch. And there are people living in them as we live and breathe now. So we did create something. We created a dwelling, a home that humans occupy. And I enjoy living in those homes, I guess. So, yes, we should never underestimate what we have within us.
Can I ask a question?
Hmm.
So, when you described in just a few minutes ago, you described how God created something and left the basis for humans to go on and flourish
Yeah.
thereafter, and etc. From what you've read, explored, thought about, etc., why did God do that? So why didn't God just set up everything and let humans live in that system that God created?
Okay. You asking me, or this is a question that anybody can answer? And
It's anyone.
yeah,
I guess directed to you, but you
yeah,
are free to open it up.
yeah, it's always open to everyone. But I'd just like to add to that, that every time a question is given and an answer is given, there's always a next question. There's a follow-up question, which is what you've just done. An answer was given to an initial question, and I partly gave an answer, and the answer obviously raises more questions. And that's just like my dilemma in life is that I can never fully be satisfied in an answer. I don't know why. I've always got a follow-up question. It's something that I can't answer. So yeah, it's open to everyone. Why did God just allow us to be co-creators than just leave us be with what he had given us? Do you want to attempt to answer that yourself, Kurt?
I'd prefer not to.
Well,
Brian,
uh-huh.
I think if God had done everything for us, then eventually we would complain that either it's not good, it's not perfect, it doesn't suit us. You know, I think the way it is, it gives everyone an opportunity to express themselves in the best way they feel is right for them. So I want to give like an example of a family. If you've got like more than 2 children, or um, if you could do everything for them, give them similar things and everything, but as they grow older, you see one might try to edit their thing, to make it different. If it's a skirt, maybe they'll cut theirs to make it a bit shorter, or put, if they're shoes, trainers, some will put stickers on them, and all. That just shows that they want something a bit more unique to them and different, and they're expressing themselves the way they want. So I'm just saying, you can't have like one size fit all for everyone, because that would make, like, everyone would have to fit into that category or the things that God has created. But when it's open like this, people are free to be who they want to be, explore, and then it brings diversity as well. It brings diversity, and diversity is a good thing. Yeah, that's
Okay.
maybe it's a poor explanation, but
No, I get you
yeah.
and agree with you totally. It just brings up something else that I'm thinking of when you were answering Kurt's question. I'm thinking of what transpired in heaven with Lucifer and God, when Lucifer questions God about why isn't he involved in the creation of humankind. And that's just a thought that went through my mind. I don't have an answer. And I'm thinking, okay.
Brian, also there are comments in the chat. Natalie says, in today's world, being able to enjoy simple routine and finding joy and peace in small things is the new richness. And then she says, iPhone takes away creativity for many, so she could donate her iPhone. And then and then Richard put a verse, Ecclesiastes 3:10. I've seen the travail which God hath given to the sons of men to be exercised in it. Then verse 9 says, what profit hath he that worketh in that wherein he laboureth? Natalie says equality, free will. So I think there are random contributions that are coming in as you speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I've opened. I can see the chat now. However, if you want to contribute, it's better, I think, if we have the face to face. It's okay writing your comment there, but it's better if you explain yourself. So, like Richard's quotations may seem as though it's just a random Bible comment, but he knows why he put it there and context. So we need a bit of more context, Richard, when you put a verse up there.
Yeah.
And
So
thank you.
So maybe people should just put their hands up and then comment, because it to them makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll
Brian,
continue.
going back to the question, I suppose, about why God made us, I think you said, at least connected to what Curtis was saying as well, I think, and Rose. I think for me that there's something about God as well, though, isn't there? That if God is like us, then God likes growing, changing, challenges, different things in life to push us to grow, I suppose, or to encourage us to, because we like change. It gets boring. I think Rose's point is it might be boring if we just all fit the same mold and we're down.
Yeah.
So I think that if God's like that, then is there something about God really not knowing how we're all going to turn out or what choices we'll make, and enjoying that process of watching or being even part of it, like the challenge of new relationships or getting to know people, that God's doing the same with us? There's something about God not getting bored either. Maybe.
No one likes change. Come on, let's be honest, right? We all like our routine, and when change happens, it stresses us. And as a parent, I was going to say as a dad, but as a parent, I find watching my children stressful, super stressful. And I can just imagine that God up in heaven is thinking, what have I done, with these children of mine? Stressful. So I think God is stressed when he sees, but his love forbears and he sees the bigger picture. That's just my thoughts.
I'd like to just add on what you just said there about God. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm not privy to God's thoughts directly, but I think that in also partly answering Kurt's question, is that when God made human beings, created human beings, he put us out there with the ability to be co-creators for a reason, and that reason is God wants to see himself replicated through his creation. And God does not know at that point what is going to become of it. And he is enlightened by what we do, what we are doing. And I believe that God sometimes is like, wow, okay, I see what you did there. Go on. That's quite clever. Carry on. Or if it's something that's bad, says, ooh, you better fix that. Otherwise, you're going to suffer. And God doesn't really get involved. He has given us all the tools to do well. And when we don't do well, he's still there to help us along. So yes, God is also finding out through us.
Brian, I think if we use the parent-child model, not an adult child, like a young child, they, and if I'm assuming if God also does that at some time, I look at my children, I would rather them copy me, right, than to be worse than me. But what I would prefer is that they excel what I've done, who I am, and be better than me. So as a parent, I look at Nathaniel or Nicholas. I don't want them to be worse than me. I'd rather them just be equal with me, you know. But my real desire is seeing them excel to surpass me, you know, creativity. And sometimes when I look at them and they do something like maybe cheating their way to do their times table and they do it perfectly, you know, I also look with admiration and say, okay, that's a good trick, but you know, I know you have done things maybe not the way I've taught you. You have cut corners or whatever, but it's you have developed your math skills to do it quicker, you know. Instead of maybe counting in fives, then he just decides to count in tens, you know, or something. Maybe it's a bad example, but all I'm saying is, as if you look from a parent-child model, and if I look at my own life, I'd rather have my child excel more than me, you know, develop things better than me, you know, come up with, and that gives me pride and joy. If they can't do that, I'd rather them just copy everything I do, you know, and be at the level where I am. So I would think when God looks at us and gave us that creative power, I think God wanted us to create things that He to excel. It sounds wrong to say to excel God, right? But if you look at it from a parent-child perspective, which parent would be sad or miserable when their child excels more than them? You know, you have pride and joy. So, but we're just afraid to say, oh, to excel more than God, to have creative ability more than God. It looks wrong and it sounds wrong. I don't know how you feel about it, but then when you look at it from a parent-child perspective, I want my child to excel more than, you know.
Well, I have that fight every day, Rose. Curtis tries to
Outsmart
beat me
you.
in everything, but he fails.
I just want to comment on that. I think, I mean, on the one side, I mean, it's funny, all of it, but you said that God wanted to create us so that they could see themselves replicated. And I'm thinking, did they do that? I suppose the tension for me is this whole selfless, selfish view of humanity, and then compare it to God. So if we're the parable and we're trying to, there's multiple reasons why people have children. Obviously, some is survival, to continue the name, they want them to excel. Some are jealous of their children. I think there's all mixed emotions there, and it's complex. It's not that straightforward that you want them to do better, but you want them to do good because it reflects on how good you are. This is my child. How good am I? You know. So there's all that involved, and you think, well, that can't be the reason God created us. So God can say, look at me, what a good God I am. You know, because that just feels inherently selfish, and we have that view that God is obviously selfless, so it must be for our benefit that God made us. You know, there's all that mixture there.
But being proud of your child's achievements is not selfish, Emma.
No, but it's all about you, isn't it? It's not about the child. It's about how good you are as a parent. That I raised this child to be successful.
Amen.
So there's all that mixture going on, and you're going, is that how God is? Is that good, or is that not good? If we put morality onto it, you know? So anyway, just food for thought. But
yeah, true. Okay.
But maybe it is just as much about God wanting relationship, because we're built for community and relationships. So we have children because we want community, and we're raised to want that social community. I mean, that's one reason. I'm not saying it's the only reason, but it's that we're driven to have relationship. And is that how God is? God just wants relationships that are dynamic. And when Manjit said about change, let's face it, everyone hates change. I don't think everyone does hate change. Maybe it's the wrong word. Maybe it's variety. People like variety. Why do they, you know, dress differently or change their hair or do things, you know, or change jobs? You know, there's also because perhaps they get bored and they want variety. So I think everyone's different, and that's the complexity, and that's also the joy perhaps we get, that we have to sort of mix with people who are all different. Yeah.
All right. If I may continue, how humans co-create through words and communication. Language shapes culture. It heals wounds, inspires movements, and establishes laws. We speak worlds into existence just as the divine did. So, yes, our spoken word, just like God's, can be creative and it can be destructive. So, I don't know if we choose, sometimes we just say things without really being careful, not knowing that our words are very destructive. And sometimes we actually use words to be destructive. And that obviously is in a situation where opinions or actions go against what the other person feels or does. So our words and our language can be for the good or bad of our creativity. And another thing that helps us as co-creators is through art and beauty. When a painter captures light or a musician composes a symphony, or a writer crafts a story, they are channeling divine inspiration to echo the beauty of the cosmos. And when I researched some of the stuff, and I was thinking, wow, do you know what I'd love when we are with God is to be in the choir or to play some instrument that is going to bring joy to the heaven that we'll be in, because I love music. And I listen to music very differently from, I guess, a lot of people. I try to listen to every instrument that's been played in a presentation. When the violins go, when the drums are being beat, the bass guitar and the lead guitar, I can pick each and every one of them. And there's something I've been longing to do, but time and money curtail that wish of mine, is to actually attend a theater where I'd love to listen to an orchestra, and I can absorb each and every instrument, that noise that's coming from it. What a joyful sound that it is for me. And the ability of the person that is playing that instrument. Have you ever thought about how a song, I've watched a TikTok of artists who produce music, how they put it all together. My goodness, it is so awesome. How each one listens to what the other one is playing and then adds there. But obviously, a lot of it you got to learn to read music, because when somebody plays their part in it, you can know that's the A key, the B, the C, the D, E minor, whatever it is. And you will play it, but you will play it with a different beat, with a different approach, a misbeat, whatever it is. And it comes together to produce this song that you listen to. It's just amazing for me. It really is. And I don't know if any of you watched the Michael Jackson, what do they call it? Michael Jackson movie. I'll just call it that. And Michael Jackson was so creative. A lot of his music came from within his head. He'd just start humming a tune, or, you know, he was so creative. And I read up a bit on it, a bit more on the side. And people would ask him, how did you come about that? He brought together a whole generation and past generations of artists' performances into his, at the time, modern performance and his music. So he appreciated music so much and was able to bring in a lot of different genres into his production. So, yes, that is creativity that I long for. Natalie says you need a night on the Thames in September. What's that about, Natalie?
Oh, it's near you, near London. They have like a classical music and all different situations come together live on the Thames in September.
Oh, that's
It-
lovely.
Yeah, something you might like because it's all the different instruments and yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'll be in touch. You need to get me a little bit more information. I love that kind of stuff, especially street music. Oh,
More classical. I don't know
yeah,
what's street music.
He just means music being played on the street.
on the street.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
You mentioned something interesting about how artists usually, like good artists, celebrated artists, they have a skill that they've developed through time of bringing together different components to make a piece. And it just, I appreciate you talking about art, but I see it in what we do in any teacher, whether it's in universities or with us in the movement. And for me, the best places that I've learned, or the studies that I've watched that have resonated most deep to myself, have been teachers that are able to connect seemingly disconnected ideas and
Yeah.
bring them together to tell one story. And so you were just you started by talking about seeing creativity in everything that we do. And this is one place where we can witness and be part of that creative process, even if it's through prophetic studies. It
Yeah.
requires, in the past, Parminder would express it as methodology is a science and an art, because of acknowledgement of that necessity to bring ideas together to create art.
Yeah. That's lovely, Kurt. I appreciate that definitely. So that's another way of looking at creativity for the betterment of humankind. And this, I believe, will continue in the new world.
Blessing has a hand up.
Yes, Blessing, go ahead for the first time.
Hi, Brian. Happy Sabbath.
Happy Sabbath.
I wasn't sure when to give my contribution because I felt like it would sort of take us away from the flow of your study. But I'll just do it now. Hopefully, okay. I find the topic of discussion that you have raised and all the thoughts you've shared really interesting. Particularly the timing of them. Like
Blessing, can you speak up or come closer to your mic?
You can't hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it any better now?
Yes.
Okay. So I was saying it's interesting that you brought up this topic and all the points that you and others have shared, because of the timing of them. It's not just a question that that is of interest to us being religious people or people in this movement. It seems to be a widespread question. Why do we even exist? What's our purpose? What's our meaning as people? And two phenomena that have happened in our world that have really brought this question to the fore. One is the rise of populist leaders like Donald Trump, Nigel Farage, etc. Because like them or hate them, what what they are identifying, what they're pointing out, why they have an appeal to people, is people feel lost. People feel like they don't have an identity, they don't have direction, they don't have purpose. And they're looking for meaning, direction, and purpose. And these populist leaders are, rising up. And they profess, of course, to provide some sense of meaning, or at least they say, we will represent you in this quest for purpose and meaning. So that's one thing. The second thing is the rise of generative AI. So, technology has had a lot of advances in the past years, but to get to the point where computers can process and generate natural language, that's a breakthrough that had never been witnessed or experienced in past generations. And why it has become such a big thing now is it has enabled technology to do a lot of things that humans previously were the only ones that could do. And it's raised the question of what it means to be uniquely human. So both the rise of generative AI and the rise of populism have agitated this subject in the minds of human beings all over the world. Why do we exist? What does it mean to be human? What's our purpose? So I just wanted to share that
Yes.
it's a really timely conversation to have.
No, thank you for that. And whilst I know, will not be able to fully answer those questions because we are still en route to developing our minds that we may clearly have understanding to our existence and purpose. We will, as in this presentation, just touch on a few things that might help us along the way. So, where was I? I said through art and beauty, when a painter captures light, a musician composes a symphony, or a writer crafts a story, they are channeling divine inspiration to echo the beauty of the cosmos. Now, the point of how humans co-create through love and relationships, forgiving an enemy, raising a child, building a community are the highest forms of co-creation, bringing order and harmony out of emotional chaos. And the responsibility of the partner in this process. Co-creation is not just a privilege, it is profound, it is a profound responsibility. Because we have the power to create, we also have the power to destroy, as we have mentioned already. Alignment over ego. True co-creation happens when human will aligns with divine love, justice, and truth. So here we have the principle of co-creation that God sets out. God did things in love and justice and truth, and of which a lot of that we are still learning to deal with, to be a part of, because of the sin problem that we inherited. We find that we, somewhere down the line and through the ages, have allowed the sin problem to continue. Curtis always reminds me that we are now living in a better world than the world before. But you hear people talk of, in the past, life was so good. It was way better than now. And it's debatable, but I think I agree with Curtis on this one. And that's very rare that I agree with Curtis. That the world is in a better place than when we found it. Yes, we've polluted it, but through that creativity, we have made life much better for human beings. Imagine living in the ages of, let's say, the Stone Age, where you made fires, you lived in a cave and had to rub two sticks together, go and hunt and kill animals in the bush, be killed by a spear yourself. You lie there dying over a week. That's just like, nah, I don't think I'd be able to want to go back to that time. Right now, we live in an age where we are transported in a matter of hours from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. And I was just thinking, I'm still in the process of planning. I want to go to Australia in September. Yeah, and towards the end of September. But the flight hours are crazy. It's like 18 to 20 hours. That's like a whole day. And I fly 3 hours and I'm enough. But here we are in an age where you can move across the world in less than a day. That's just awesome. If it was back then in the Stone Age, you're walking 10 miles to go and look for water. No, thanks. I don't wish to be back in that age. Absolutely not. But yes, humans have been so creative and so successful, but also we've managed to bring destruction to our environment and earth through our creativity. But as I alluded to early on, that I believe in the world made new, we are going to really expound on this creativity without hindrance of the sin problem. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that time. Co-creation is not just a privilege, it is a profound responsibility. Because we have the power to create, we also have the power to destroy. True co-creation happens when human will aligns with divine love, justice, and truth. When humans create out of greed, fear, or pride, the results are pollution, war, oppression, and division. We are not owners of reality, but trustees tasked with cultivating, protecting, and elevating the world we were given. Ultimately, we are not helpless spectators in the universe. Every choice we make, every word we speak, every idea we bring to life is our contribution to the ongoing cosmic tapestry. Being made in the image of God means inheriting the urge to create. We mirror the divine when we build, write, heal, or organize. Creation was not delivered as a static product. It was left open-ended, requiring human stewardship to flourish. And as I keep saying, this, I believe, will continue forever in our existence. We will continue to do great and marvelous things. I think of some of the writings of Ellen White when she talks about we will visit the other worlds, the other created beings out in the cosmos. And I think as she wrote it, as she understood it, well, we probably have wings and we're going to fly. God's going to give us wings. And I don't know. I don't know if that's true, but what I do believe, we will create things that will take us there. I mean, who's been following? I think I mentioned it the last time. This this um, aircraft that was launched some 20, 30 years ago. It's out there and has been sending little signals that take like 5 years to get to us. And it's lost in space somewhere. And they thought they had lost it. And then suddenly, I think last month, they got a message. It is so far away. And I think, wow, human beings actually have put something out there. And it made me think about distances in space. And I was thinking, when Christ rose from the tomb and he went back to heaven and came down, how fast was that? You know, what transpired there? How did Christ travel to heaven and back? Then I thought again, I said, hey, who knows? Maybe heaven isn't as far as we think it is because we don't see it. We think it's far away. Maybe gods and the heavenly beings are not too far away from us after all. But that's just a thought. And we will find out shortly, I hope. Anybody else want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Uh-huh.
It's Ignatius.
Yes.
Okay. Um, I'm just happy that now we can have this kind of discussions because a little years back we never used to. I don't know if there are any people who used to think about our purpose in the particular way that we are doing today. Particularly myself, we used to think that we're just born, we are brought to this world to evangelize because the world is so evil. We didn't care about technology. We didn't care about aeroplanes. We just thought that those things are just there to give us a means of transport to maybe travel to faraway countries to evangelize, to spread the gospel.
Yeah.
So that Jesus can come back to get us to heaven. So it was so limiting, I should say, because my Adventist background would make me think about the Bible only 7 days a week. And everything that I think of and do will only be aligned with this mentality of this world not being our home. So it would really be very, very limiting even in terms of what you can do, the experiments that you can take. Even people traveling to space, you would say, no, why are they doing that? God created the heavens and the earth. The earth is our home. Why should somebody
Mhm.
be saying, I want to go to Mars? What are they doing there? Is God even happy? You see, that was our mentality, at least for some of us back in our village. They only focus, and sadly, some people still have the same mentality. That the reason why we were brought to this world. Even I remember, even when I was in college, we were the type that would say that, um, we are not here to get worldly education. God brought us here to evangelize. That's why God brought us here. And somewhere in between the lectures, in between the classes, would go to hostels preaching, telling people the good news about the true baptism. That is what we call the good news, the state of man in death, that Adventist doctrine. And that's what we believed was the purpose of humanity in this world. We were so in present in our language in the movement now, we would say we were selfish. We only focused on ourselves. And while we're doing that, other people were busy,
Mm.
developing and being creating, finding out skills that God embedded in them and developing those skills, you see.
Yes.
And we didn't have time for that. We only thought that this world is going to be destroyed. What's the point? You see, we need to tell everybody about Jesus so that Jesus can come back, take us, then we go home. Then life starts from there. You see, so it's just a comment to say we can discuss, we can have this type of discussions now, but if some who were like me, part of this movement, you would agree with me that in years back, we never committed our minds to even thinking about such. We were suspicious even of technological advancements. If it were us a few years back, we would be very suspicious even about artificial intelligence. You see, even about many things that phone apps that are able to make life easier for us. You see, we think these things will trace us during the Sunday law. You see, to find out where we are
Yeah.
to kill us. We
Yeah.
never used to have this kind of discussions. So thank you so much for bringing this thing up.
Ignatius, when you say that, I kind of think why Africa is so underdeveloped, because it wasn't just us there. It's the whole continent. We I can't find the words to describe our thought process. We're very suspicious of development. We just want to stay in the old ways. And that's maybe a cultural issue in Africa, but whatever it is, it has held back Africa forever. And to this day, even with things like vaccines, you're so suspicious of vaccines, will not take vaccine. People are dying in the Congo right now as we speak because of Ebola. And I think it's Oxford University that has had to hurry up a vaccine that they had been working on Ebola. And people just won't take it, you know. And that is why Africa is partly, not everything, there's other reasons, obviously, why Africa is so underdeveloped. And yes, we have been slow to catch on to our creative skills. And I wonder what it would be like when in the earth made new.
Titus has a hand up.
Carry on, Titus.
Oh yeah. Happy Sabbath. Uh, I'm grateful for the discussions, and I just had a comment. I think it's based on something that Curtis said in a book that he read about how uh, outlier, I think, and about how like some factors in the world dwarfs and limits our human ability to think and to create and to even know ourselves. And one of them was poverty, just like scarcity. And the current world with scarcity in resources, I think makes it harder for many people to be creative and to even think, to even have time to think about themselves and their purpose in life, and
Mhm.
uh, by extension, why they are created or why we are created. Um, and then the other point I wanted to make was I think because of uh, because of adopting evolutionary viewpoint that as human beings we have been existing from lower forms of life to where we are now.
Mhm.
I think majority of let me say some majority or some percentage of either scientists or the world today have this idea that those who came before us were less creative, less intelligent than we are, and I think to some extent I disagree with that, because I think we are just lucky that we have accumulated light of ages, and uh, we can collect all of that and then answer the question of why we are here or why we were created. Because if I think about the innovations and the knowledge in the past, it's astonishing. Like the the pyramids in Egypt and some monuments of previous civilizations, like some buildings somewhere that have been there for like 3,000 years or 4,000 years. And and for me, what I would say is human beings have been creative since God created Adam and Eve, and we have been good, but because of the systems of the world where all the homage of all the brains of people are just submitted to one person, a despot, or to where like the institutions have dwarfed the people, but the people have always been creative, even in hard and uh, trying circumstances. I think humanity, they have always been creative. So in that regard, I think for me, the answer to all this is just like the movement and all this. Without this, I think we would never have been able to answer the question of why we are here. And I think part of that is, as you say, as you discussed this, creativity. Yeah.
Thank you, Titus. I agree. Creativity hasn't just been in this generation. It has always been there. We were created to be co-creators. And yes, there are marvels of creation in the past. But however, what we are saying is, at least what I'm saying is that we seem to have just had a massive boost in our creative skills in the past 100 years or so. And we're getting to a stage where, through AI, that is like something, as Blessing was saying, is going to blow our minds. We ain't seen nothing yet. I shared something with Curtis and his brothers the other day. I asked them, "Is this true?" Because I don't know if these things are true. Some of the things I see on Reels or TikToks of AI now, some AI thing escaped and is doing its own thing online. And I said, wow, are we there already? Where AI is no longer waiting for human prompts and is able to do its own thing, whatever that is, whatever it means. I've got no idea. But yeah, we're entering a new phase in creativity through AI. Definitely. So to round this off for me, again,
Blessing wants to
Yeah.
say something, I guess.
go ahead.
Oh yes, I just wanted to, make an observation. I could be wrong in this observation, but it's
Mhm.
something I've seen at least, which is humanity generally, I think, has been very creative and innovative for thousands of years. And like you
Yeah.
said, particularly in the last century or so, in all areas, I think, except religion. Religion has somehow lagged
Yes.
behind in many
Yes.
cases. So this is where I'm saying I could be wrong, because I think a major development in human understanding or creativity, if I could use that term, in religion was roughly 2,000 years ago with the introduction of Christianity. Christianity revolutionized the way people understood themselves, the way they understood the world in which they live, and the way they even understood uh, the possibility of any type of existence outside of this planet. But since then, there hasn't been much progress, I don't think,
Yeah.
until you get to, I'll just say, until after the 1260. So until after the Dark Ages, when you've got a lot of different people in different corners, not necessarily religious, but political, scientific. They're all saying, we need to break these shackles of the church and the king, stopping our expressiveness or creativity in the realms of philosophy, political ideas, scientific progress, and that impacted religion as well. So you have a lot of religious movements coming up. We talk about the Mormon Church that was created in that period after the 1260. People started questioning, even within the established Protestant churches, the splits that happened over slavery, as you know. And that's also the time where the Millerite movement came up. And we are descendants of the Millerite movement, if I could say. And I think one thing that this movement has done, which is a contribution to society, whether we recognize it or not, is to actually institutionalize, if I could say, the science of religion. Being able to put a framework in place that people can understand the realm of religion in a more methodical and rigorous way, in a more meaningful way, rather than, because a lot of religion today is, it's either you are just stuck in the past or people are just doing their own thing as individuals. It's very difficult if you can find an institution that exists that will actually have, if I could say, apply the scientific method to religious subjects in the way that this movement does. And I feel like it is a contribution to society, which society will come to probably appreciate in the years to come. It might not be seen now in its value, but I think dragging religion into the 21st century is really a contribution that this movement has done in the realm of creativity and religion that no other institution has done, I think. I could be wrong, but that's just my observation.
Yeah, thank you for that, bringing religion onto the table.
Brian, but in terms of religion, religion has never really encouraged growth and change. Right from if we look into history, like the one Ellen White gave us of the reformers and all, you know, it was difficult for them to try and bring change into a religious system that has already been there. And even even in Adventism, if you want to be a heretic, introduce something new, you know. And it's not only in Adventism. We've seen churches split, like United Methodist, Anglican, just because maybe there is some priest comes and says, no, we need to be inclusive of people that are identifying as bisexual, lesbian, and all. The church splits, you know. So religion, and we've got these sayings that are engraved in us from a young age that um, God doesn't change, you know. Give me that old time religion, you know, the songs that were taught when you're young. You're saying, give me that old time religion, you know, yesterday, today, and tomorrow ever the same, you know. So all those things and then I think that's why we are afraid of anyone who comes with anything new. Even when we joined this movement, you know, in Zimbabwe, when we were called offshoots because it's something, you know, that's coming that's contrary to what's there. So I also think this movement has matured really because when Elder Paminda says, let's encourage open study, you know, like where we talk and challenge and question, I think that also has helped us to change our mindsets to say, look, you can say your point and I don't have to fight you. I should listen to what you're saying. And if I've got a problem, I should question, you know, and provide also answers, you know. So even in this movement, we have changed from the past, you know, where it's okay to question someone who has done their study and say, what about this? So that's revolutionary for me. But religion, it has always been like that no expansion really. You just take what you are given and accept that, you know. So whereas you know, in motor mechanics, someone says, I want to try this, you know. In medicine, people have tried a lot of things, and if you just look at the development of medicine, you know, from bloodletting and to where we are, you know, where a surgery can actually be done using computers and all, you know, robots and all, and everything comes perfect. You can see that other sectors have allowed for growth, but religion, it's because maybe of the doctrines as well, that, you know, even when you grow up, you just want your father's and your mother's religion. If someone comes with anything new, yeah, a heretic, you want to lead me astray or something like that. And then I think Ignatius has a hand as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I want to share. Um, I want to share something over and above what people are saying. I think this movement has actually destroyed religion. When I say religion, what this movement has done is that it has made us become human beings, um, real human beings, because every human being in this world is shaped by their religion. Most human, actually, no one will say they don't have a religion. They have some sort of religion, some sort of cult, some sort of something that defines their life. And religion cannot progress. It's difficult for religion to progress because when it tries to progress, it destroys itself. You see, if Seventh Day Adventism is to progress and say there is no Sunday law, it means there is no essence of having that institution in place, because the institution is built on the premise that we have to spread the gospel, that someday there's going to be a Sunday law ushered that will threaten humanity, and that's why they were raised. And if you pick another religion, not denomination, religion like Islam, they do have what they believe from when their religion was invented, was founded, and they believe that we have to stick to the core tenets of why the religion is even there. So for me, this movement tried to progress within the foundational principles of Christianity. And now what I see is that what the movement has seen, what we have seen collectively. I could be wrong in this, but this is what I see personally, is that the moment, as long as we still hold up to some certain religion, we begin in ourselves to think that God favors that religion as opposed to another religion, and that us and them kind of thinking begins to crop up. So we're trying to obliterate that, and we have a worldwide system of human beings being able to live together in peace and harmony, and to embrace this principle of respecting life and respecting other human beings so that humanity can reach their full, potential. I think a religion is um, a deterrent to progress, especially when you talk about Africa. Africa is the most religious continent in this whole world, and yet when you talk about progress, it is the one that is far behind of everyone else. You see now, I saw this meme, which was a joke on the internet, that says that the world wants Africa's resources, yet Africans want the sky. The sky being Africans want heaven, and the whole world, they are keen to say, let's go and find some things, the resources that are in Africa, and try to explore and be creative with what's found in Africa, because Africa has not been exploited as much as other parts of the world. Yet the Africans who are sitting on on those resources are thinking about heaven, you see. So from my thinking, I don't know if I'm too radical or not, but from my thinking, the religion itself has been and is a deterrent of people thinking about purpose in this life. What really is our purpose? Because the moment you bring about religion, religion begins to define everything for you. That I'm supposed to do this because Allah says this if you're Muslim. If you're a Christian, God says this, I should do 1, 2, 3, 4 because this world, etc. So for me, the ultimate is do away with religion and embrace right doing, righteousness, which is the principle of treating humanity fairly, equality. Then we move from that. Then we are able to embrace our purpose. That's what I think.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ignatius. I've always believed that too, that is so divisive.
Natalie has a hand up and Manjit as well.
All right, go ahead.
Just on that point, Brian and Ignatius and Blessing, I think there are churches out there who, like us, have done very well with human rights and You know, we've got the Episcopal Church, probably not pronounced that right. They even believe in divorce and remarry, inclusion of LGBTQ. I think the difference between this movement and any other religion, any other church in the world is, even though that is prophecy, knowing about human rights at the end of the world and putting them, implementing them into your church and religion, I think that the prophecy that we have a speciality in is understanding Revelation and Daniel at the end of the world, and what that means for the seventh kingdom, for the kingdom, last kingdom of the world, which obviously that church is in the United States, and that's where they fall short. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Manjit.
So Brian, your original question was, why are we here? And I don't think after all this time it's actually been answered. We've gone all around the houses. I don't know what houses, but we've all gone around the houses, and your question hasn't been answered. And I don't know if you've got the answer to your question, but if we go on.
I said we'll answer partly the second part, the purpose.
Okay, but if we, why are we here, isn't it? So
Yeah.
So what's the second part of that? Why are we here? The here bit. Sorry.
The purpose.
Oh, the purpose why we're here.
That's
Okay.
similar to why we're here.
So if we just for a second go back to traditional Adventism, right? So hopefully I'm not going backwards, but traditionally we used to say that, you know, God created us a little lower than the angels, all right, with the purpose of being promoted higher than the angels. And our original position, I don't know if it's changed or not, our original position was that when heaven lost a third of its angels, is that humans were supposed to replace that number, but be higher than the angels, which actually ties in with the fact that God wants us then to run the government of heaven. So I guess part of it then is, why are we here? And also, I'd also preface all that we were an experiment. God created us as an experiment with the purpose of creating a new creation that can actually think like God thinks, rather than the accusation that God's creation was just like robots. So that's just my penny's worth on it. 2 pennies worth even.
Okay.
Richard has his hand up.
Go ahead, Richard.
So the questions, Brian. Mantis just mentioned the point that your question hasn't been answered, but a short while ago you mentioned about the advancements with AI, and I know there's probably a couple of people who'll be hearing this may get a little bit thingy, because you know there's loads of different sources of information out there, and some people are researching and have got the skills to siphon through it, and some people are still just, you know, getting disorientated out there. But I come across this, I don't know whether it's a fusion quantum or whether it's just a quantum computer. It's one of the top ones that are out there in the AI, and you know, it was asked a question. So it seems like we're trying to find our purpose, why we're here, and then this huge, massive, creative, artificial intelligence is asked a question. You know, zooming out into the heavens, is there life out there? And I did stop watching this particular one after I see the scientists involved, because years ago I've come across some of his things and it seemed a bit wacko to me. But it's in science, and they're not always honest and truthful, and they really get messed up when it comes to their dates. But anyway, this question was asked to this I don't know if it's a fusion quantum, but I mean, both of those concepts a few years ago were wackoed, you know, fusion and then quantum, but now they seem to be coming into realities. But I'm not sure whether I've mixed them both together when they're not supposed to be together. But this computer is one of the top computers, and it was asked this question, but instead of coming back with a straightforward answer, it just it just retrieves loads of data, out there from observable data through the lenses and the satellites that are out there. And you mentioned the one, I was familiar with that one that you mentioned. There's ones that have been out there for a long time, and one that's just recently come back alive, and it's got all the patterns, and it's come back with all this data, and they're siphoning for all this data. But the conclusion of this, to the point where I got, this artificial intelligence has recognized that whatever's created what it's been observing, it has an intelligence, and basically its conclusion is it's highly likely that there is intelligence beyond us, our Milky Way, and that in itself is quite amazing. And I got to the privilege of learning this nuclear physicist science work, Young Age of the Earth, Fingerprints of Creation, Young Age of the Earth, and he had an article saying it was he's now waiting for the resurrection, but he had this article unrefuted, and then so I asked the question, is this evidence still unrefuted? And it came back, yeah, it's most certainly unrefuted, this, that and the other. So I just went over some of his work again and put in some of these concepts that he was bringing out in, and the AI started to change its mind and then telling me that there's a creator God. And so it is kind of amazing what AI can do. And even though, because I wanted to know just how much it was regulated, and these people who we know are going to run things, and all the techies have come together with Trump, but it will still retrieve, if the information you put in it is accurate, it will still retrieve the accurate information and let you know there's mindsets that are still battling those topics and those arguments, and fighting those corners, and I found it really intriguing and amazing. But
yeah,
the verses that I gave from Ecclesiastics 3, there's a little heading in the Esau, time for everything, and the God-given task, and from dust to dust. It gives the mind a few thoughts for those who are familiar with that, and it's probably even got some deeper thoughts now. People have got the correct tools for where we are now. As the covenant is established in the hearts and minds of God's institution. Anyway, I just wanted to leave.
No, appreciate that, Richard.
There's some great big minds out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the bit I know of AI is that AI wouldn't be there if it wasn't through humans' thoughts and actions. And AI, for me, those who know better can correct me, AI produces information that it gathers from what humans have put out there. Over and above that, I'm lost. But going back to Ignatius' issue about religion and its effect on human beings, I've always felt that way myself, and religion has held back a lot of development, positive development. And you have to go back even further than that, than just religion. Where does religion come from? And is it how the scriptures are interpreted, or is it how the writers wrote, and the writers themselves were characters that had their own character, how they foresaw things and saw things. Ignatius was saying, and Rose too, that if you dare challenge any of that stuff, you're frowned upon in the churches where we came from. But we have the freedom to actually challenge a lot of that stuff now, and we're finding that what I believed then and what I believe, what I'm seeing now, there's a gap in what I believed and what I believe is reality now. I mean, a simple story like the Tower of Babel and what went on there, that's for another time. I don't want to get into challenging biblical narratives
On that
and
note,
how we
Brian,
interpret them.
you've got 5 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'll round up. We shape reality together. The idea that humans are co creators with God changes how we see our purpose. It means we are not just passive observers in a finished world. Instead, we are active partners in an ongoing creative process. God provides the raw materials, the natural laws, the spark of life. Humans provide the labor, the imagination, and the choices that shape how life unfolds. To understand co creation, look at how the divine and the human roles interact. God creates a potential. This includes the universe, the ecosystems, talents, and free will. Humans shape the reality. We turn trees into houses, sounds into symphonies, and raw emotions into justice or mercy. Creation is unfinished. The universe is an open canvas, not a static museum. There again, definitely, we need to take heed of that. We are not living in a museum. Free will is the ultimate tool of co creation. Every decision you make alters the course of history in a small way. Words build or destroy. A single conversation can spark hope or cause despair. Actions mold society. Cultivating a garden, raising a child, or launching a business directly changes the physical and social landscape. Intentions direct energy. Choosing love over bitterness changes the spiritual environment around you. A shared responsibility. Being a co-creator is both a privilege and a heavy responsibility. If we create alongside the divine, we can also miscreate. Positive creation brings order out of chaos, healing the sick, inventing tools that reduce human suffering. Negative creation, generating pollution, systematic injustice, conflict when we abuse our creative power. Ultimately, we write our own story while helping to write the story of the universe. Every day is an opportunity to look at the world around us and ask what you are doing to bring life to the next. And as I said, this is only partly an answer to the question of our purpose in this world. We are co-creators with the ultimate creator. So I trust that maybe this has opened up a little bit of our minds in our day-to-day walk in this world. And may God continue to grant us wisdom and to use that wisdom wisely in the present and the future. May we all be blessed by God's presence in our lives and acknowledge who we are. I thank you.